Welcome everybody. In this video, I'm here again with Georgina Komar. And today we're talking about something that is deeply meaningful to Georgina and I, something that we've spent years developing and understanding of and mastering. And that is understanding our subpersonalities. Now, one of the first things you're going to be doing is going, what are subpersonalities? Well, it's our job to help you understand them in this video. This title for this particular video is Introduction to Subpersonalities and Their Impact on Investing. So welcome, Georgina. I know this is a subject that you love, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Subpersonalities are the key to being able to help us work out what's holding us back or blocking us in our investing.
Right. Okay. So let's just start off with a central principle. The personality is not one identity. It is made up of parts, separate autonomous characters called subpersonalities with completely different viewpoints, emotions, beliefs, and memories. Now, to most people, that's going to sound like gobbledygook. What does that mean? Why do you think it sounds like gobbledygook to most people, Georgina?
Well, most people think of themselves as one personality, just I am who I am. And even though they may reflect and think, oh, I changed my mind a lot, they still see themselves as one personality. And within this work, what we actually help people understand is when we're actually changing our mind, what's happening is we're looking or we're responding from different parts of our personality.
Right. And before we get into it, Georgina, you know, in the last video, we talked about belief systems. We didn't go into that deeply because this is not the time and place to go into belief systems deeply. This is introductory work because if you're going to master this work, you've got to be dedicated to it and you've got to get proper training. But what do belief systems, what does the work that we did with belief systems in the last video have to do with subpersonalities? Like what's the tie-in?
Well, of course, Perry, each of our subpersonalities or each of the parts of our personality have their own belief systems. They were created at a point in time that was necessary for us to find a strategy to work through some aspect of life. And what we tie them back to is our beliefs that we are conditioned to hold on to tightly or hold on to dearly. So allowing the understanding that subpersonalities have their own beliefs can help us really start to break down some of the reasons why we block our investing.
Great. So let's go look at this. So basically, you're saying that the belief systems actually belong to subpersonalities, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay, so let's have a look at this because, you know, people might, when they first come across the idea of subpersonalities, as Georgina's just mentioned, go, well, what is that? Because they think of themselves as a singular personality. But when we start to dig into this, you'll start going, oh, yeah, I already see the truth in this. I already see that this is a pretty interesting model that can really help me. You'll see why as we start to dig into these subpersonalities. So this is actually me and three of my subpersonalities. These are three distinct parts of me. And in fact, oftentimes they can be in conflict. Georgina, she'll have her own makeup. So she could probably put, you know, 3 or 4 subpersonalities up here and go, well, this is what goes on within me. Now, the truth is we've got many subpersonalities, but you'll typically see 20 maybe would be dominant over a lifetime that you would see operating fairly clearly. Okay, so we'll just go into this so we can understand it. The achiever driver subpersonality that I have. Georgina, can you talk about the achiever driver, my achiever driver subpersonality? It's not actually mine, because anyone relating to this who has a strong achiever driver subpersonality will go, oh, I really get it. So Georgina, I'm going to hand over to you. And can you go into explaining the achiever driver subpersonality?
Sure, Perry. The achiever driver part of us is the part that says, wow, we've set some goals and we want to achieve them. We want to tick those boxes. We want to reach those goals that we've set. And there'll be part of us that just keeps pushing or driving us relentlessly because it's focused on achieving that goal. So all it cares about, its beliefs, its emotions are all about achieving that goal. So it will continually drive us. It will not allow us to think about anything else. It's dominant, and it'll take over our life if we let it.
Correct. So the achiever driver will have belief systems like, it's really important to achieve this. The most important thing is I achieve this, whatever the goal is. The emotional tone of the achiever driver, when it gets frustrated, meaning there's things stopping it from achieving and driving, it will be frustration and anger. And so the emotional tone of it is often hard. Okay? Now, the family man subpersonality. What would someone with a family man subpersonality experience when their family man subpersonality is controlling them?
They're going to be in their heart. They're going to be focusing on their family, the connection, what it means to be in a family. And chances are their achiever driver that we spoke about earlier is actually working to help support that family. So we'll find that the different subpersonalities do work together, but the family man itself is all about connection and wanting to be there and supportive and loving towards the family. It recognizes the benefits of having a family. It believes that they're the most important thing in our world, and their emotional tone is really loving and warm and considerate and connecting.
Great. So I wanted to see that we've gone into the achiever driver and the family man, and they've got completely different emotional dispositions. So Georgina and I are trained to see what subpersonalities are controlling us at any point in time. So it's very simple for me to go, the achiever driver subpersonality is trying to control me. Or, oh, look at that. The family man is in place today. Because these personalities subpersonalities become like things we wear. They're no longer our central identity. I'm disidentified. I can see them, which means I start to get some power over them. We're going to go to the outdoors guy, or for me, probably a better word for that nowadays is the outdoors adventurer. So I'm very outdoors orientated. I love being around nature. When I say this part, there's other parts that are quite happy to stay inside, lie in bed. And this part of me just loves being immersed in nature, and it loves doing physical, exciting things in nature. And I was thinking about this part of me this morning, and I realized it actually likes to be alone. It loves doing things on its own in nature. So it gets me surfing. It's one of my big passions. It gets me riding bikes up in the hills. I like mountain bike riding. And it's a big part of my life. Now, just so you can start to understand, all these parts have different belief systems and different emotional tones. And then there's a conflict gets set up because, and I'll explain this, and many people will really relate to this. My achiever driver might say, okay, I'm really going for this. So I'll have a financial goal or a business goal. I'm really, really going for this. And when that's wound up, my energy is, and my emotions are kind of hard and, not aggressive or anything. I'm going for it. Really driven, focused. I could work 16 hours a day easily when I'm wanting something. The family man, that can get frustrated at the achiever driver. And the outdoors guy could get frustrated at the achiever driver because the achiever driver could go, okay, no, I'm not going to go surfing. I'm going to get this work done. No, I'm not going to spend time with the family. I'm going to go get this work done, as an example. That would be an attitude that my achiever driver could have if I let it. So there's often conflict. Let's just take Saturday morning. So we're just setting this up as an example. It's got nothing to do with investing at this point, but we're just trying to ground out an understanding of subpersonalities. The surf could be amazing. I may have a deadline for work, and my wife and children are going to be going and doing something fun. And I could have the experience of all three of those parts of me being in conflict. The achiever driver, I should get the stones, get the work done. If I don't, I'm going to let someone down. I won't get that thing done as quickly as I need to. The adventure is going, but the surf's good, and I've just worked. I just need some time out. I just need to get in nature. I just need to get that hit of surfing and being in nature. And the family guy's going, but I love being with we're going to go down the cafe, and I get to hang out with Anne-Marie, and I get to hang out with the kids, and we'll have some fun. So I'm sure everyone listening has their own experience of that. And that is the 3 different subpersonalities with 3 different sets of values, 3 different emotional tones pulling at you, going, follow me. I'm the one you should follow. Okay. Now, as investors, it's really important that you learn to understand and then master this work. Georgina's constantly working with investors to help them understand the belief systems associated with all the different parts of them, all the different subpersonalities, so she can start to help them create a blueprint around the parts that support successful investing and the parts that sabotage or limit or undermine successful investing, which we'll do a bit of talking about. Yep. Anything you say about that before we move on, Georgina?
Well, just wanted to say that, the key thing is we're introducing subpersonalities to you. Once you start to have an understanding of these examples, you'll be able to easily recognize that these different parts may come upon as different opinions within yourself. So when you've got different opinions, it's more difficult to make a decision. You've got different parts operating, and they're all trying to get you to side with them and do what they want to do.
Correct. So again, coming back to the last video, if you have a subpersonality that's got a belief system that's been locked in with a lot of emotion, and it believes something like investing is unsafe, or I'm no good, and I was no good at math, so I won't be a good investor. You'll find that those subpersonalities will lower your energy, focus, and start to sabotage, which we'll be talking about in a later video.
That's right. You'll be feeling really uncomfortable because you won't be certain about what it is that you want to do. You might feel an uneasiness. So when you are actually working in one direction, you might not be fully focused because there's something else nagging at you.
Yeah. Okay, so here's just run through a few of the subpersonalities that I have and many people will have, but you see why I want to run through these even from an investing perspective. So example, I've got the good father part of me that really takes fatherhood very seriously, wants to be a good father, a good husband. I've got an aggressor or warrior. This part of me actually enjoys, as I get older, less so, but to be honest, enjoys fighting. I loved playing rugby because I love the physicality of that, of tackling and being tackled. By the way, the aggressive warrior has its functional and dysfunctional sides as well, as all these different subpersonalities do. A gentle lover connector. By the way, a sabotage is when you use a subpersonality in the wrong context. So, if I take my gentle lover connector to play rugby, and my aggressive warrior into my family environment, I'm in trouble. I'm sabotaging both those environments. But an aggressive warrior subpersonality in rugby, and in life, by the way, from an investing perspective, staying dedicated to goals, they really assist. If I had the gentle lover connector at rugby, it'd be like, it wouldn't help me. But it's good to have in my family. I've got a scared child, what I call the coward. That's a part of me that's really afraid of making mistakes or losing money or whatever its stories are. I've got an adventurer, as we talked about, an analyzer. Now, the analyzer subpersonality is really important to understand as a investor. Why, Georgina?
Oh, well, the analyzer is going to be one of your key subpersonalities that will be assessing the deals, collecting the facts, and making decisions. Yep.
Thank you. And should run our investing. Our analyzer, our logical elements, our strategical elements should be deciding whether this property is a good idea to invest into. And that's done by getting all the statistics that we need, doing all the research that we need to do. I've got the being part of me. The being part just likes to hang out and do nothing. And the entrepreneur. I love business. Now, sometimes what I'll experience is that my entrepreneur, analyzer, and the planner organizer will go, okay, what a great idea. That business idea is a fantastic idea. The entrepreneur comes up with a good idea. The analyzer looks at it and goes, what are the strengths and weaknesses? And then the planner goes, okay, we need to plan this into being, all very functional parts. And then I'll observe a tension in my body, a amount of stress. And if I go and look, I'll usually see this scared child part, the coward part. And the coward part of me says, everything is unsafe. Nothing is guaranteed. Stay where you are. Be comfortable. Okay? And so, again, I know that's impacting me because I can feel it in my physiology, because your subpersonalities talk through your physiology. Now, if I was unconscious, okay, here's a big thing. Most men don't like to go, I've got a coward part. Why, Georgina? Why do most men go, I don't like to have a coward part?
Well, our conditioning is that men, who are cowards aren't going to be successful. And, you're being a wimp, or you're being, a sook. So most men want to disregard or push their coward part away. They don't want to acknowledge and believe that it's part of them. And yet it can play a part, even if it's on the unconscious.
It'll be in their unconscious. So anything that can't be owned, well, you can hear how easily I can own this, but if you can't own it, what will happen is the coward part, and everyone has it, will sit in the unconscious, and that person will procrastinate. They'll use excuses. They will say no to their goals and dreams, and they'll always have rational excuses. But what they don't realize is that the unseen coward or vulnerable part sitting in the unconscious is going, don't do it. But because the person can't see it or identify it, because they've got to keep that macho mask on, they're going to be controlled from the unconscious territory, where, as an example, I just know. The moment I can feel that anxiety, I go, oh, here's that, I can see, here's this vulnerable, scared child, this coward part of me. And I can see what it's doing, what it's up to. And then I'm able to navigate that properly. If I don't see it, it's just going to rule me from the unconscious territory. And by the way, Georgina, what is the functional attribute of the coward subpersonality?
Well, the coward subpersonality can really serve us if we're putting ourselves in a dangerous situation in reality. If we are moving without thinking or analyzing in an investment perspective, if we're too cocky and our ego is involved, the coward can come in and sort of say, oh, but this could happen and that could happen. It could help to balance a dysfunction in another subpersonality. So the coward is really functional. It's there to protect us and to make sure that we don't move in a direction that could put us in danger.
Yep, thank you. So what I do with my coward is, when it's triggered and I can feel it, it's usually when I've got some big project going, what I do is I actually respect it, and I come back to my analyzer and get my analyzer to double check my thinking. Okay, which won't ever fully appease the coward, but at least it appeases the rational part of me. I go, okay, I know the coward's telling me it's unsafe, but I've come back and double checked. It's not. I can continue.
And really, when the coward comes up for us, or these resisting parts of our personality come up, it is a protection. They just want us to pay a little bit of attention to what they're saying. Oh, what about this and what about that? And as you said, when your logical or analytical mind can come in and look at it and say, oh, is this the situation? Is this really the truth here? And find, oh, maybe it is, and make an adjustment. Or maybe it's not at all, and it's just a story from the past. But the fact that you've given the coward a little bit of airtime, it really, once you make your conscious decision, it really can drop away, and you can move forward doing what it is that you want to achieve without that aggravation that the coward can cause.
Yeah, out of interest, Georgina, like you work with more investors than I do these days. How often are you seeing that old stories from, subpersonalities, that have been conditioned growing up? How often are those subpersonalities, those old stories, impacting the investors?
Oh, Perry, all the time. That's what's key about this work, being able to help clients identify which are those unconscious subpersonalities so that they can become familiar with them and they can make a conscious decision. Oftentimes there's, a lot of what we talked about in the previous session about not being deserving or having beliefs that are contrary to what is necessary in order to be able to take action in investing. Those are on the unconscious level, and people just use other parts like the procrastinator, and they're distracted in other ways, but it's almost always what's causing people problem in their investing is this inability to know what's going on with these subpersonalities that are in their unconscious mind.
Again, everybody, that's why emotional intelligence as an investor is important. What you don't know about yourself, what's happening unconsciously outside of your awareness, could most likely be sabotaging or certainly downsizing your potential returns.
Reducing the effectiveness for sure.
So in this work, we use this particular slide to really highlight what Georgina's just talked about. The I symbolizes the ability to see all these different subpersonalities and understand them and see their place in your approach to investing, how they serve you, how they don't serve you. That's the start of this work. And then there's learning to transform or manage subpersonalities that are impacting your ability to invest successfully, to stay focused. Just going to finish off with a couple of case studies, and I think this is probably going to ground out a little bit of what we've talked about. So we're going to make real some of the things that we've just been through. So this particular person they came to us, they rejected 9 properties and were too late on 3. They had a very strong analyzer subpersonality, which means what, Georgina? Where are they gifted at?
It means that they can look at the logical aspects of the deal. They can make decisions around whether everything fits in with the checklist and all of the experiences, the education that results provides. And so everything stacked up. It was a safe investment.
Yep. So logical analysis is the core gift of the analyzer subpersonality. It's a thinking part, a logical part that can, do the maths, as Georgina said, can see that, yes, this property fits this checklist. The coaches said yes, so it comes up with intellectual answers, kind of like Spock from the first video. Just a good brain. This person also had a perfectionist, and the perfectionist part of them slowed them down a lot and kept looking for problems, even though there weren't any there. Can you explain the perfectionist subpersonality, Georgina?
Yes, the perfectionist subpersonality is always looking to make sure whatever it is that we are doing or that we're working on is perfect. It will look for the tiniest little flaws and want to rectify it. Good enough is never good enough for the perfectionist. It wants perfection. And in reality, oftentimes it's just a distraction, because while we want to strive towards perfection, we're never really going to be able to achieve it and be able to achieve a goal, because we'll still be always finding ways to make things perfect.
Great. So the perfectionist in this particular gentleman was considered to be on the dysfunctional side of the spectrum. Okay, so as an example, I think it's pretty good if you are an investor and you've got a strong analyzer, and I think it's really good if you've got a strong perfectionist. So when we talk about functional, the perfectionist is going to get, if Georgina's the investor, and then Georgina's got a strong analyzer and a strong perfectionist. So the analyzer is going to be doing all the study, doing all the research, and the perfectionist is going to get her to come back and go, well, you could make a mistake, go back and double check. Okay, and there's still this problem, and we'll get her to dig down into detail. So who can see that that's a good thing? I'm sure you can, Georgina. Okay, but here's where things start to become dysfunctional, This will highlight some of the things that we've been teaching. On the unconscious level, he had a worker subpersonality. Now, the worker is the part of him that grew up in a family where everyone went off to work in the morning and they believed that was the only safe way to make money. He didn't even know he had this part. Didn't even know it because he was unconscious to it. And the worker said, business is very dangerous. The only safe way of making money is working for someone else. Investing is very dangerous. These are the belief systems of his worker that sat on the unconscious level. And because he had such a strong worker with these strong belief systems, and we said earlier, the stronger the emotion associated with belief systems are apart, the more trouble that is going to cause you. From the unconscious level, it would pull on the perfectionist. So can you do your best to explain how that works, Georgina? How the worker sent the perfectionist back into what we call dysfunctional territory.
Right. Well, when the worker is on an unconscious level, it just will constantly be looking to validate the beliefs that it has. So it's going to look for anything that can confirm that business is dangerous, or that it's only safe to make money through working. So it will engage the perfectionist to go and find reasons that will affirm its belief. So the perfectionist will look and will say, oh, but this part of it isn't correct, or that's not right, or we're talking about little things that maybe aren't going to make or break the deal. The perfectionist will just come in and try and find ways to affirm the worker's beliefs, which will just actually stop the investor from moving forward, stop them from taking the step forward to doing the deal because of this worker's unconscious beliefs that really investing is dangerous, and if we do this, there's going to be big trouble.
Yeah, because this is going to drive paralysis by analysis. Okay, and the key thing here to all this is the worker subpersonality that's got these really emotionally charged beliefs is going to control this person's decision making from outside of their awareness. So even though everything stacks up for the analyzer and the perfectionist, as they go to put money on, this part's going to get triggered, the worker, and it's going to go, hey, don't remember, investing's really, really dangerous. It's really, really dangerous. You can't do that. But the owner of that subpersonality doesn't even know that part's saying that, because they can only feel the perfectionist. So what they'll experience is, oh, I've got better go back and double check. Oh, this is a bit risky. Think, it's only 98% right. and that's why they'll tend to reject. And they've been controlled from the unconscious level by a subpersonality that's basically very uneducated and coming from paradigms that it grew up with. That's all. So until this person can actually see the worker subpersonality and really understand the worker subpersonality's belief systems, that means that they're bringing it out of unconscious territory into conscious territory, they'll be controlled by it. But like I said with the coward before, if you can see it and understand it, now you can go, okay, it's telling me investing is dangerous. Is it really? The analyzer is saying it's not. But until you can do that, you're just going to be controlled by it. Okay, a couple more. We're just going to be aware of time, but I think these are good examples, Georgina, because I think it really grounds out what we started with.
Yeah, definitely.
This one, I love this one. This is a talented property developer working at 50% capacity. They were procrastinating and had their distractor in place. So procrastination, by the way, anyone that's got a procrastinator, you're hiding from something on the unconscious level. You don't want to feel something on the unconscious level. And same with distracting behavior. It means that you haven't really fully seen a part that's driving you from the unconscious level. So this particular person, again, amazing analyzer and amazing achiever. And they would, they just did so well, so easily and so quickly because they were so naturally gifted, but they'd get to a certain level of income and they would just find themselves backing off in going into these procrastinating and distracting behaviors. Now, they were smart enough to see that there was a pattern going on. They'd come to a couple of our events, so they were going, I can see, why do I keep backing off once I reach a certain level? So underneath the line, and they had a strong achiever, they had a chameleon. Now I'm just going to go into this a little bit and into this person's background. So growing up, woman in a small country town, or young girl in a small country town, growing up in the 50s and 60s in small country, rural Australia, very patriarchal society. Now, one of the things that's really important, if you grow up in an eclectic area where there's rich people, poor people, like, you know, sometimes I walk around Bondi and those areas, and there's the massively wealthy, and then there's the poor, and then there's surfers, and then there's artists, and what have you. You're not being conditioned by one or two belief systems because you see everything. You see all the different belief systems in the world. You experience all the different belief systems in the world. But if you grow up in a small rural country town, you tend, and everyone in that town will tend to be imprisoned by a similar set of belief systems. So when she's growing up, she learned that people that do well, stand out, get persecuted because people in that rural town would go, who does that person think they are driving around in that car, that Mercedes? Who do they think they are? The other one is, it's wrong to make people feel bad about themselves by standing out or being exceptional. So when this particular woman, as a girl, went to school, she got the highest marks in the school. And then all of a sudden, she was attacked and persecuted because people were jealous of her. So she sort of learned, oh, when I stand out, I get persecuted. And not only that, she was made to feel guilty. Her parents said, oh, look, you always win, because she was also good at sports. You know, like, let the other kids have a turn. So she learned that, look, when I'm achieve, I get attacked, and when I achieve, it makes other people feel bad as though that they're missing out on the success, so I'm responsible for their feelings. She also grew up with a lot of, patriarchal beliefs about women. So, you know, that somehow a good woman should just stay and serve the man, all those typical things that, were sort of part of the conditioning systems in 50s rural Australia. So she learned to be a chameleon and hide and just fit in with whatever the group thought was. Georgina, before I finish this off, do you want to go into the chameleon a little bit more, or that starts to give you...
Yeah, well, the chameleon is the part of us that really wants to fit in. It doesn't want to stand out at all because it risks something. It risks losing something by standing out. So it'll just shape shift. It'll just accommodate and adjust. Now that's a good attribute to have. The chameleon can be really functional when it is appropriate for people to not stand out, when there's a group of people working together, and the togetherness and being united is where the power is. But when we're using it in a dysfunctional way, we're just allowing ourselves to mold or sink in with the environment so that we don't have to stand out and run a risk of being persecuted or seen to be against what other people believe, or even just have people take their love and support away from us.
Yeah, that's the chameleon's a great subpersonality that allows you to build relationships really quickly because you can become like the people you're with, and that helps them feel safe. In this case, it became dysfunctional because of what Georgina's just pointed out. She didn't want to stand out. So what was happening, you know, this woman would have been 48 when she was working with us, and this chameleon was developed in childhood to fit into the small rural town. But as she started to create success, and she created it easily because she was so talented, it would trigger the belief systems of the chameleon that said, hey, if you make more money, if you know, you're going to get whacked because people don't like wealthy people that stand out, and you know, you're going to get a bigger house, the house that you dream of. But if you get the house that you dream of, you're just showing off, and you know, other people are going to feel bad. But all those belief systems got triggered through that process. Of course, she was unconscious to them until she started the work, and she's just flowing with this work. So the moment she started to surface it, work with it, and see it, she was no longer controlled by it. where before she was conscious of it, the chameleon was, every time the achiever and the analyzer would get her to do really well, it'd go, uh-oh, better bring the procrastinator and the distractor in because she's getting too successful. And based on those belief systems of the chameleon, that was a negative thing. So I hope everyone got a lot out of that. We love this work, and Subpersonality work's amazing. Georgina, want to share anything before we finish up?
Yeah, I was just going to say in respect to the last example, one of the things that's challenging about this pattern is there is a certain level of achievement and success that pattern will allow. And then at the last, the least expected moment, this chameleon will kick in, and understanding the subpersonalities and knowing which ones are there are important, but it's also important to recognize that, wow, things can change, and all of a sudden the situation calls for this chameleon in our unconscious to come up where it wasn't there before. So we start to then learn to work deeper to figure out, wow, when do these situations occur? Because, as I said, in this particular example, there is 50% capacity. There is the ability to achieve, but then there's a ceiling. So it's just important to recognize that patterns can be quite tricky.
Thank you, Georgina, and I hope everyone got a lot from that, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks. See you next time.